to the ABC Podcast.
Always be cool.
The show where your hosts, DC and BK, showcase your local business and real estate pros going gangbusters in leadership, community involvement, and just being cool.
Here are your hosts, serial entrepreneurs, mortgage experts at Summit Lending, and partners in crime, Darren Copeland and Bobby Kerr.
All right, everybody, it's the Always Be Cool podcast, hanging out with your hosts, Bobby Kerr, Darren Copeland.
What's up, everyone?
We are very excited today. We have a special friend and guest, our special friend, like it's kindergarten class.
Right.
Our special friend who DC and I have known for several years. I'll let DC do the formal introduction, but we have Mr. Stephen Colyer.
All right, here we go. Born September 4th, 1991. Just a kid.
Just a kid.
He's one out of 7 kids. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I did not know that. He's a graduate of Central Missouri, passion for sports and working out. He's a professional fitness coach, been in the industry since 2012 and over 5,500, large group sessions conducted. He is the one and only owner of BaseFit Athletics. All around awesome guy, Steve Colyer. Welcome to the show, brother. Thanks for being here, man.
Thank you. This is awesome.
Right?
I've been a fan, I guess you could almost say a lifelong fan of since ABC podcast took off.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I have one of those shirts hanging up in my closet.
Yes, you do.
I wanted to wear it, but I decided to forego that for this round. But
well, in fact, didn't we just have a flashback of a year ago?
Yeah, that came across my feed yesterday. It said 1 year ago was that picture where DC gave you a shirt and you guys worked out together. And it just so happened to be the same week that you're on the show as a guest.
Here we are.
Look at you!
Wow.
You made
Karma.
it. You made it to the top of the mountain, Steve.
It's all
On the
downhill from
ABC
here.
show. Well, it's okay. So we talk. That's the perfect segue. DC last year gives you the shirt. You're working out together. You're training him, and now you're on the show. That's why you're here. You've got this incredible company that you've been building, but more than the company of BaseFit Athletics. There's something that you told DC and I leading up to the show where your main objective as the owner and proprietor of BaseFit Athletics is to help others achieve peak performance, not only physically, but mentally.
Mm-hmm.
So just talk a little bit about that. And that's going to be a very generic way to start this, but I just found that really interesting that's your goal.
Yeah. So the body can't operate without the mind, and the mind needs a body in order to operate.
Right.
And so there's not just one area in fitness, in my belief, that we need to hone in on. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong. I love a good bicep day or get a good chest press going or something bros like to do.
Some dudes,
right? But there's also the psychology behind it as well. And that in order for us to be whole rounded, healthy people, the whole needs to be taken care of in some capacity.
Right.
And so it is said that hairdressers and personal trainers are the cheapest forms of therapy that you'll find on this.
Okay.
I believe it.
You sit down in the salon chair.
Yeah.
She starts cutting your hair. And then next thing you know, you start talking about your life and what's been happening for the last 2 weeks.
Right. It just kind of flows out. It
just happens.
Right.
And I think the two of you may be able to agree that there's just at times when your trainer is harping on you to do something else, and then this mental wall begins to break down. The trainer maybe shuts up for 5 seconds, and then you start just unloading what may be on the mind. But then at that moment, when the unloading is done, then you can truly focus on the session itself of the physical, because the mental has now been unleashed. And then from that, greatness can be achieved.
Do you think it also has something to do with guys like Bobby and I? We're just trying to delay because we're trying to catch our breath, and we're just tired.
You know what? There was a gentleman yesterday that I handed him what's referred to as an easy curl bar, so it kind of comes down and up and down, and you can grab onto it.
Go.
And anyways, he will remain nameless, but he is to my left. You're right. And he was like, "I'm tired." I'm like, "That's nice. You may start now."
That's nice.
I said, "Bro, I'm tired." Didn't even start yet.
I love it.
I got to tell a funny story. So, gosh, this is probably 5 years ago when you first met Liz and I.
Around there, yeah.
Something like that. And we're in a group training session. And we got this young kid that's, giving out directions, telling us what to do and all this stuff. And he's not just saying, "Hey, you know what? You should do this. You should do." No, he's
barking.
He's yelling.
Yeah.
He's yelling. And Liz and I looked at, we're like, what is going on with this guy? He is so intense.
He's on one today.
Right. And then it turns out like we've got to know you really well. And, you know, you're just a super awesome guy. But I just always remember like that first experience with Coach Steve. Right. Like,
same.
Like, let's go.
You know, you only have one opportunity, as Eminem would tell you, to seize the moment or let it slip. Mom's spaghetti on your shirt already. And you can never get that back.
Right.
And it's imperative in whatever line of work that we work in, if it's real estate or just entrepreneurship as a whole, that you make a lasting impression of some nature. And unfortunately, in my experience, I have squandered so many perfect opportunities to make a lasting good impression. But fortunately for you, right. DC, I did not.
It was a good one.
Just making an impression.
You know what?
That's it, man.
That's all of that.
Speaking of impressions, Steve. So you told us in your pre-show questionnaire that we have all of our guests fill out, you said, and this is maybe just a little, I'm wanting to fluff DC and I up here a little bit. But for the listeners, I found this interesting and humbling, to be honest. You said that the ABC podcast has actually helped to inspire you to chase your dreams to get BaseFit Athletics off the ground. So if you could just maybe explain that a little bit to us, because it meant a great deal to us, but also talk about the chasing your dream and opening up BaseFit and the generic, how it's going, why you're doing it. What's your ultimate why?
So when you watch the podcasts on YouTube or you're listening to it on Spotify when driving and you look on the wall and you see Les Norman, you see George, you see, well, Drew up there.
Drawn Cherry.
You see all these athletic greats up there. And then you come across this episode and you're like, well, I don't know this guy. Well, I, for the longest time, have wanted to own my own company of some nature. And I know fitness. Right. I have a degree in health studies from the University of Central Missouri, where I thought I was going to be a physical therapist. Fun fact, you have to be smart to be a physical therapist. I'm very applied in the applied sciences. So where we talk about training and then we execute it, but then kind of knowing all the Latin terms and all the intricacies to be a physical therapist. I wasn't studious enough and apply myself in a disciplined manner. But ultimately, I like training people more than I like rehabbing people.
Sure.
Right. And so I've worked at big box office gyms. I've worked in boutique studios. I've done a little bit of the gambit in a sense. There's still areas in my training that I haven't exposed myself to, but all in all, though, I knew that I wanted to work for myself at some point. And in 21, my wife and I, we welcomed our first son.
Shout out to Chase.
Chase, what's up?
What up, Chase? And from that, I knew that I wanted to have a little bit more control over my life, my schedule, instead of having someone else dictate it. I do a good job at what I do, and I've helped many people make some good money along the way.
Right.
And so what if I was to gamble on myself? What if I was to take a leap of faith? And coincidentally enough, I was training DC at this gym, and he's like, "Hey man, I'm about to start a podcast." I was like, "What?"
Yeah,
I mean, you're a character. Don't get me wrong, but what? And from that, he was like, "Yeah, my real good friend Bobby's going to be helping me out with it, and we're going to run it out of the Summit Lending Studios." And I'm like, "Dude, like, no, you're really doing this thing." He goes, "Yeah, why would I say that we're doing this?" And so Bobby sends me the link saying, "Hey man, here's our pilot episode." And I remember the pilot episode. You had a third party host lead the way. She did a great job, but I remember that first episode. So like, this ain't it. Like, I think you guys are missing. So anyways, to see the evolution to where it's now the two of you conducting the interviews and listening to the knowledge being dropped, I have to say, Sean Casey's episode and then Les Norman's episode, the amount of growth that I personally got out of that. But anyways, this podcast, the people that you bring on, the knowledge that you two drop to support the guests as they go along, it just instilled within me of, well, what's any different from me than the person that's sitting in the chair that they're talking to? And I was just getting tired and growing weary and just even angry at points that I wanted to do something. And so finally, I turned to my wife and I said, no, I'm doing this.
Starting your own thing. Yeah.
I'm doing this. So back in December, I filed for the LLC. I remember the phone call in November where I called DC and Bobby was in the car. You guys were actually,
we're going to a meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were going to pitch an idea to realtors that they need to come do work with you guys. And I was like, wow, you guys are tag teaming it. And from there, I was like, simply, I have an idea. Where do I start? and you both were like, good. The sucker has taken. And from that, you gave me the websites that I needed to talk to, the people I need to talk to, make sure I keep my overhead low. Don't make a rookie mistake like maybe some people have done in the past and overcommit themselves too early. Little by little, build your way up. And so from that, I've been listening to podcasts religiously. And there's always something to be gained from it. Even if I didn't play football like Don Cherry has, but his episode, he was able to still kind of instill a little bit more of perseverance can take you a long way. We know the saying, if you get knocked down 7 times, you stand up that 8th time.
Right.
And I'm not going to say I've been knocked down 7 times, but let's say the 2 or 3 times was enough for me to say, yeah, okay, it's time.
Sure.
Right. And also, we need to give a shout out to your wife, Rachelle, right?
100%.
Because the thing is, and Bobby and I, you got to have a supporting cast around you, right? And your significant other is a big portion of that, right? So, how was her reaction? Because clearly, you can't do something like this just on your own.
No.
Because, if your spouse is just like, oh my gosh, no, we're not going to make it, blah, blah, blah. So was she like, hey, Steve, I know you got this, man.
So let's actually paint the picture a little bit differently. Maybe I was a little too Neanderthalish with my, I'm going to do this.
Right.
This has been a dream of mine for years.
Okay.
So this wasn't coming out of left field for my wife by any means. I have learned through my 9 years of marriage, come here in a few days, actually.
Nice.
9 years.
Wow.
Don't forget, bro.
That would bode well.
Yes.
That, hey, honey, I think I want to own my own place one day. Hey, honey, I think I want to work for myself one day. And it's planting those seeds of success for your supporting cast, so they're not caught off guard. I have learned the hard way too many times with my wife that if I don't approach with love, if I don't come at it as I have an idea, can we do this together? Instead of, so this is what I'm going to do.
Smart,
and
man.
you can tag along if you want. I don't know where this Southern accent is coming from, but it might be here to stay, boys. And so
maybe it's your bossy voice or something.
Yeah, your bossy voice is Southern.
you know what? It might be true. He likes fried chicken, so I'm about.
So she's 100, bro. I've never told you this because we've never had this conversation, but it took me a couple of years to convince Liz to come work with me. Right. Yeah. And it's an ongoing process of just dropping hints. Right. It's not like, hey, you need to do this. Right. It's more like, man, you're so amazing at this certain aspect. I really wish I could find someone that could do that as well as you could.
Well, for those that may not know, my wife is a physical therapist. So she's actually the brains of the operation.
Yeah.
She's doing the dream that I thought I wanted for myself, but I'm happy to say it wasn't my dream. It was an illusion. And the byproduct of that is what I get to do on a daily basis now. And I love it.
It's awesome.
But my wife is so smart and so awesome. When I told her this is what I was going to do, she'd be like, okay. And then she would wait a few days. And then she would be like, hey, have you started designing those workouts yet? Oh, I'll get to it. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Hey, have you cleaned out the basement yet so you can put the equipment in there? No, I'll get to it. Right. I got an idea in my head. I got to work on the logo.
Right.
Which, by the way, shout out to Jenny McVeigh with Jenny McVeigh Designs.
Cool.
The logo.
Nice.
This is her work through.
She did great.
Literally, I said,
very cool.
I want the standard barbell plate.
Mm-hmm.
She goes, okay, I can work off that. What's the name of the company? Well, it's going to be in my basement. It's going to be fitness, and I'm going to work with athletes. How about BaseFit Athletics? Okay, I can work with that. Yeah.
Which is a great name, by the way.
And then she was like,
phenomenal.
What's going to be your slogan? And literally the day before, I had saw beat yesterday. So it's already used. I was like, okay, I can't can't steal that. That's not right.
Right.
I was like, I don't know. Plus beat had this violent connotation.
Mhm.
I'm not a violent guy, but there's a lot of bark. There's no bite.
Right.
And
Or you could play Michael Jackson Beat It nonstop in your basement.
don't think I won't. Don't think I won't.
In the words of Steve, talk less. It's happening.
Say less.
Say
We got
less.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Say less. We got
exactly.
this.
Say less.
And so from that, I was like, I don't know, compete with yesterday, maybe something along those lines. She goes, no, that would work. I was like, all right, then that's what we're going to do.
It's good.
And so shout out to Jenny. You're amazing. We should hang out more often.
That's nice, Jenny.
That's phenomenal.
You said as we're talking about Rachelle and stuff, and I'm glad DC brought it up because I've even got it in my notes too, that BaseFit it's a family affair.
Mm.
You've got Rachelle. She's got a true special skill set and education to be able to help clients of rolling through BaseFit Athletics. Chase even tends to help out some, writing on the whiteboards with the programs. You shared some stuff on social media. So I think it's really cool because that is transferable to no matter the company, the industry. DC's worked with Liz for a long time, obviously worked with Allison. So it does take a special relationship to be able to do this. And so it does speak very highly of her and you to both be able to, because it's not always easy. Right.
Not in the slightest.
It's not like you're going to always get along.
If you come over to BaseFit Athletics, AKA my basement. So I'm welcoming you into my home to help you achieve your dreams of whatever goal that you may have of the physical. If it's at 5 a.m., there's a good chance I'm going to get a text from my wife. Hey, the music's just a little too loud. So there's still a give and take that needs to be found of this is still a home and there's people that live within said home, but it doesn't mean that we will not open up our home to help you out in the end. So no, there's still a balance that needs to be found within that. And we're still somewhat in the early phases of figuring out what works and what doesn't work still. But I have a loving wife who I don't deserve, but I'm grateful that I do have.
Absolutely.
That she's able to cater to what I'm wanting to achieve, to where hopefully one day I can turn to her and say, do you not want to work anymore?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
That'd be phenomenal.
I was raised off of what I would refer to as a domestic engineer. My mom, who had 7 kids, childcare is expensive.
Domestic engineer.
There it is.
That's hilarious.
And so mom, she stayed home. And so that's what I was used to. And so for me to be able to help out the family in such ways to where I can turn to my awesome wife and say, you don't have to work if you don't want to, which she will then reply, well, maybe just like 2 days a week. I think I would like to work.
She's strong.
Isn't it amazing? Yes. Isn't it amazing what happens when you have a child and that focus is off yourself and now that focus is redirected back to that little one? It's amazing. Right.
It was an evolution that took place that I never saw happening. And now that it's here, I literally look back at my former self and say, how did you function, dude? Like there's nights I might operate off of 4 hours of sleep. Whereas before, if I didn't get my pretty 8, then I was just a monster. I'm like, right. You're cute.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's funny. Hey, talking about, because I have this on the notes, talking about your mom, and going back, because I didn't know if Bobby knew this. I had no clue that you were one of 7 kids, right? That's a lot, right? Right. So tell us a little bit about that. Like, what was that like growing up with, that?
Because you're in the middle, right?
Yeah. 3 above, 3 below.
Wow. Okay.
So that might explain why my personality and loud voice and attention-seeking, narcissistic, egotistical personality really takes over. I have to. If I don't draw attention myself, no one's going to do it for me. So let's do this thing.
That's right. A lot of middle children go through that for
100%.
sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Growing up with a big family, holidays were always something special. They still are to this day. If you take a map of Kansas City and draw a circle around it, we're all within a 20-minute drive of each other. So
no way.
We're very, very close.
That's awesome.
And it was amazing. I have 1 sister and 5 brothers. And so from that, there was always competitions to be found around the house. Who could run the fastest, who could do hold their breath the longest going underwater, little things that boys are going to do. And mom would grow tired. She was like, does everything have to be a competition? And in our minds, we'd be like, it kind of does. We can't explain it, but let's see who can pick up the most sticks. I mean, it was the dumbest things. Right. And so But we were rooted with very good parents who early on distilled to us the difference between right and wrong, and that a honest day's work will take you much further than the shortcuts of life. So the work ethic that I have, yes, was instilled upon me by my mom and dad, but then also reinforced to me by my own siblings as well. And so the shell that you see before you cannot be highlighted enough by those that raised me the most throughout life. So coming from a big family, when early on, when funds were a little tight, I'd look at maybe the youngest two and be like, did you really have to be here? Whereas now,
you're cutting into my presence.
Seriously, like I would be on my third gift of Christmas. Like seriously. There's also the running joke as the middle child that I was the FedEx child. If you look at my family, I don't fit the physical demographic. All my brothers are super tall and lean, and I'm barely 6 foot and sometimes wider than the state of Montana. And so,
with muscle, by the way, you are running a fitness company.
Right. You say that to all your
Keep
trainers.
Keep going.
Do it again.
You know what? If we were just a little bit better, we should have had like a special sibling guest pop in.
Oh my gosh. Behind door 2.
Just to tell some stories.
I like it. No, that will not be happening.
What was that show in the 70s that brought back surprise guests from people's lives? Do you remember that show?
I watched it every single day.
I'm being serious.
I'm not.
I know you're not, because you're born in 1991.
Right.
But it was a show where they brought in famous people, and then they said, like, oh, we brought somebody back from your middle school that you had a fight with.
It wasn't Phil Donahue, was it?
No. It was like a game show, but it was anyway.
Well, this is fortunately a very small office at the moment, so
nobody else is coming in.
I don't know if another person would want to fit in here, honestly.
Hey, I want to pivot and talk a little bit about the actual business, because people are going to be listening to this. They're going to say, yeah, I should call Steve. I should check in. I need to put my physical, my fitness goals into place. Or they might say to themselves, man, that sounds really good, but I've got this chronic issue. Or, I know for instance, I'll put this on me instead of talking about other people. When we come back from Royals fantasy camp every year, and we've had these conversations, we came back in November, and, DC and I and everybody else, we play so hard for a week because in our minds we're 17 years old, right, when in reality we're in our 40s and 50s. And so we come back and we're broken. Well, to me, that becomes an excuse then to not exercise for several months or many months after we get back, right? So I know when I say, yeah, I don't really need to work out right now because I'm in pain. So let's talk a little bit about that and what your rebuttal would be, or how you personalize the fitness programs so that you can work with people who are in chronic pain, or maybe you just need some extra motivation. So kind of paint the picture in that sense.
We all have belly buttons. We all have excuses. Then at that point, it's just like a belly button. It can be useless to us at the end of the day, because if you look at it, belly button doesn't do anything. Neither does our excuses. But we, for some reason, will build it up to be something of a wall that will keep us from wanting to pursue something. And it's all about, at the end of the day, a level of comfortability. We live within a bubble of, I'm safe here. I'm okay living this life. But at the same time, we all have bodies. So therefore, we all have dreams of what we want to be able to do with these bodies. I'm not going to sit here before you and say that I'm the best trainer there ever was. That's just going to be the biggest lie known to man. As long as we are willing to do something, though, something can be found. If there is a will, there's a way.
Right. Well, I just want to pump you up real quick, because I always have a bunch of squirrels in my head. So if I don't say it, it's gone, right? But I want to give you some kudos. I know we joke a lot, but man, I've watched you over the years, and you do an amazing job of people of all different shapes and sizes, right? Different types of athletic abilities. One of my favorite things that you used to say in group coaching is everyone here is an athlete. right? If you show up and if you're just walking on a treadmill, you're an athlete, right? So you do a great job of mirroring someone, what they have going on, and knowing how to push them a little bit, but not getting them hurt.
It's all about getting on their level, as you're saying. We as humans want to be heard and be seen. And a good trainer will be able to do both of those at the same time. So an individual that comes before you and says, hey, I'm recovering from cancer. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. But at the same time, congratulations on your victory. That is huge. To me, that'd be enough reason for me not to do a workout.
Right.
But yet here you are right now wanting to do a workout. And it has to really boil down to, as Jess Foxworthy would say, the want to. I can't do your push-ups for you. You got to be able to do them on your own. But you have to want to do your push-ups.
Right.
I can be beside you and be the hype man, the cheerleader, an external force of motivation, if you would. But you've got to be able to do your own push-ups. You can lead a horse to water, but doesn't mean that the horse is going to drink.
We just talked about that.
I literally use that phrase.
Good thing I had that camera in the lunchroom. I was able to pick up on that.
That's funny.
You know what? I think what a lot of people just need to do, and you can talk about this a little bit later about what you offer so they can experience, right? And you can set up a plan with them. But literally, I think one of the hardest things to do is just set the alarm and drive there. Right? If you can set the alarm and drive there, that to me is the hardest part ever, right? And this is for everyone. But if you start, we talk about having, miracle mornings, right? You have your scripted out morning of, hey, if I do X, Y, and Z, like my day is going to be off the chart because I'm going to just own my day, right? So I think it's so important to have something like this as a part of your life. So number one, you feel better about yourself. You're in better physical shape. The more you work out, naturally, the better you want to eat and maybe not go to that extra happy hour all the time. But I guess what I'm trying to say is people just really need to have maybe some exposure. Maybe they've had some bad experiences with personal training, right? 100%. They just need to check it out and not be like, hey, you know what? I feel like I need to be an Olympic athlete in 30 days, right? Or maybe I just need to drop 5 or 10 pounds and get a little bit stronger.
Before I want to piggyback on what DC is talking about, because again, personally, you train me, you train DC, but even I'm having a conversation with Steve this morning, right? And I am not necessarily quote unquote satisfied, right? I'm like, how do I get over this hump, right?
Steroids.
Or people plateau.
Steroids.
People plateau or whatever, and so I think that there are these, again, mental hurdles that people have a difficult time overcoming. So cool, you can start going to a trainer, but then as soon as it gets a little bit difficult again, or you get over that initial excitement, you get those early gains and you're like, I put on some weight. Well, maybe it's muscle. Muscle weighs more than fat. So it's like these little things, setting the alarm, getting out of bed, driving to the gym or the personal trainer. So go ahead and take the floor. But I'm going through it. Everyone goes through it too. And so, some of those things, how do you curb that?
Let's go ahead and acknowledge I'm as much as human as the two of you sitting before me. All I have to do is walk down 2 flights of stairs and I'm at work. When my alarm goes off between 3:30 and 4:30 in the morning, there's moments where I'm like,
it's tough.
Right.
Not today.
Not today.
Like I didn't sleep well. My energy is low. Excuses.
Yep.
Belly buttons.
Belly buttons.
I have them too. And so from that, the way that we're going to curve that a little bit, a mentor once told me, if you write it down and put it before you in a common place that you see it every day, those daily reminders. Okay. There was a TikTok the other day. Another trainer was doing a duet with it, where this morbidly obese boy, he said, okay, today's day 1. I'm going to stand for 5 minutes. Gentlemen, we walked from the office to here. I mean, I trained you this morning. I know you got your workout in this morning. He wanted to just simply stand for 5 minutes.
Wow.
The thing that will help humanize us the most with our fitness goals is to, one, acknowledge where we're at right now and not take your health for granted. There is someone that's looking at you and saying, oh, I wish I could do that. And yet you're looking at the superstars that are on the wall right now saying, oh, I wish I could do that. Gentlemen, I am the morbidly obese child when looking at the two of you in the business world, where I'm like, oh, I wish I could do that. And you're looking at maybe the Ed Milet's, the Mark Zuckerberg's, the entrepreneurs that are just, macho. And you're like, oh, I wish I could be like that. And yet there's probably individuals that are looking at us saying, I remember when my life was just like theirs and what I would take to go back. One of the main reasons why I'm doing this company is out of a sense of necessity. Times are getting a little bit more tight. And so I want to be able to financially provide for my family. And so from that, I'm thinking, well, maybe if I just go out on my own, spend more money to try to make more money at that point in time. It's counterintuitive, but there's been success stories about it before.
Sure.
And yet I can think back to 7 years ago when my wife and I were renting a house in Blue Springs. It was a duplex, and the lady on the other side of the wall was louder than all get out. Anyways, and it was a 1-car garage, and I had to park out in the street. And I just remember thinking, I can't wait till I have a garage and park my car in.
Yep.
And just all these things, they manifest from somewhere else.
These benchmarks. Yeah.
Yep.
How do you eat the elephant?
One bite at a time.
One bite at a time. Your fitness is an elephant. You have to set a goal. Simply saying, I'll start tomorrow. What about if you don't have it tomorrow? We wasted today.
Right.
So my question to you two is simply then this, and the listeners online or Spotify or however.
All over the world.
All over the world. That's right. What are you doing to try to set up for failure for today? And I mean this in the most positive way possible. When you're working out, are you simply just working out to be seen? Or are you working out with a purpose to where you can't perform anymore, that you maximized your potential? When we maximize that potential to a point of I can no longer go, I am done. The tube of toothpaste has no more to give.
That's a tough place to get to mentally. I'll be the first to admit it.
Did you know that we only use about 60% of our brain capacity?
Not even.
I don't.
It's like literally like 12. Like it's something stupid low.
It depends if you go to either Blue Springs, Truman, or Fort Osage. It depends. It varies quite a bit.
Fort Osage people, what up? But at the same flip of a coin, though, you're not wrong. Whatever that number is, we don't operate to our full potential.
That's true.
So when I say failure, don't look at it as the sense of I'm going to lose my home type failure. No, look at it as the sense of I cannot perform another rep. I cannot think another thought. I cannot do anything else for today.
Yeah.
That I have truly worked to my full potential, and I can now rest my hat, lay my head type of personification. I'm not saying that in day one we have to do that, but let's go back to the gentleman that wanted to stand for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Maybe the 5 minutes was his max for the day.
Sure.
And at that point, yes, we stand for hours on end. We do tens of thousands of steps per day, and he just simply wanted to stand for 5. And if he met that goal, well done. And are we operating under the same guise of what is my 5-minute standing goal? What am I trying to achieve within that moment in time? And what is my game plan to get there? A trainer is just simply someone that is going to help you along the way, that is going to be able to give you a roadmap of success to failure, whatever that may look like to you.
That's an interesting way to put it. I like that. That's really good.
I'm
to
putting it on
give you
t-shirt.
a roadmap to failure, because it's the different sense of the word failure, right? Like failing is doing your last rep to hang your hat and say, I'm proud of what I did.
Failure, completion, whatever word we want to use.
No, I like that. Well, with your programs in particular, the very last set is always to failure, right? Like it's on the boards. It's at my house written on the boards. And I'll be honest, today I did my workout. I felt like I gave it my all.
Yeah.
But now I realize I probably had a couple more reps in me to say to failure, because I wasn't like falling on my face, right?
No.
But it's a metaphor really more than anything.
More than anything. And the second part of what a trainer can really do, other than being your calligrapher of the map, is also to be the second pair of eyes for you on, you had 2 more reps in you that you could have done.
Mm-hmm.
I know, but I didn't want to. I know that's okay, but can you give me 2 more? Don't do those last 2 for you. Now do them for me.
Yeah.
Oh, now we changed that mindset that we were just talking a second ago.
That's really good.
Well, you also do an amazing job. If someone picks up some dumbbells and let's say that they can do a little bit more, you have this look that you get, and you just kind of go, really, just that.
It's a very judgmental state that we get to of, it's your workout, so please know that now.
Right.
I'm going to go to sleep just fine tonight.
Right.
But you're going to have to take a little bit longer. If we did 1 rep more a day within a year, that's 365 more reps that you could have done.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so as long as you are able to take comfort or solace in the fact of, this 1 more rep I could do, but because it hurts,
right,
I'm not going to, that you are beginning to chip away this mindset that over the course of a year, I'm not going to do 365 more reps.
Well, and another thing that you were spot on, because we do this in different coaching groups, whether it's real estate, mortgage side, is you're not competing against others.
No.
The only person that you're competing with is yourself. And just like your wristband says, right? Go ahead.
Compete with yesterday.
Compete with yesterday, because the only person you're competing with is the person yesterday, 2 weeks ago, 30, 60 days ago, right?
Yesterday will help us plan for today.
DC, I'm glad you said that. It's so difficult though. Like, people are going to be listening to that and they're going to be like, that sounds great. But we all are in this culture of comparisons, right? Mm-hmm. And so like, anyone's looking at their social media feed and you're like, oh, I see that it's like comparing, you were starting your business. And so then you were comparing to me and DC, who have owned businesses a long time. And then we compare ourselves to Grant Cardone or something like that. Right. And so it's a dangerous and slippery slope to do that. And so, DC is spot on. You really are only comparing, you should only compare yourself to yourself, right. But that's really difficult, right? Oh, because you look at your feed and you're like, man, that girl's looking really good, or it's nothing's instant, first of all. No. And so we all see these things and we see these people and we might think, man, they did that so fast, but they don't see the 4 a.m. wake up calls, or they don't see it's
the iceberg, right?
That is, it's a success iceberg. Right. Nobody sees the risks, the failures, the doubts, the criticism, the discipline, the sacrifice, rejections, late nights, persistence, hard work.
Yep.
They just see the tip of the iceberg. That's the success.
You're just so lucky, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, I've been working out for a year. Oh, you're so lucky.
You're lucky. You got good genes. You just, that's
so
right.
In a sense, what we're saying is we see literally a snapshot in one moment of time where someone is. Mm-hmm. For example, early on in my career, I was at a box office gym here in Lee Summit, and these multimillionaires would just come in and work out, or these other individuals that made 6 figures. And in my head, I conjured up this idea that they must have been that way their entire lives. Mm-hmm. Like, I look at the two of you and I'm like, early on, I would have been like, man, it must be nice to be spoon fed like that. Like, because I, 1 of 7 kids, mom, domestic engineer.
Right.
There was, I remember times where my shoelace would break and I would just have to
tie it together,
adjust the shoelace down.
Yeah.
So that way I would have a long enough shoelace to tie it together. Right. We just wouldn't throw things away like that. And so to say that it's a snapshot is not fair to the individual, but even more so though, in today's day and age, the ability to edit one's picture to give the perception of what they want people to see on social media is more prevalent than it has in years past. Mm-hmm. I am a dummy, and I even know how to edit a photo to make it look better than what it really is.
Right.
To give out that perception, what I want people to see of me.
Yeah, it happens a lot.
Right.
And in fitness, it is a true epidemic plague.
I never thought about it like that. That's interesting.
So I have a question. So what would you say your biggest challenge is? Because for Bobby and I and a lot of our other buddies who are going to be listening to this, fantasy camp has become a huge part of our lives, right? And quite frankly, that goal out there is the reason why we work out, because we're not going to go down there and embarrass ourselves, right? Number one, we're just too competitive and it's just really damn expensive, right?
Right.
So with that being said, what would you say your biggest challenge is for folks to take exercise seriously?
Well, first and foremost, Rachelle, when you watch this episode, I'm going to fantasy camp some year. That's just going to happen. So
I love it. First of all, to throw caution to the wind, because Steve's never played an inning of baseball in his life. And so to say that, that's amazing.
That's all right.
Like that's a lot. No, I'm saying
we'll train him on that
side.
The trainees are the trainers now.
Yes.
But to answer your question, you actually have already done it for the listeners. What is the goal? What are we trying to, if you had the capability of achieving that goal right now, what would you get? For me, it'd be a multi-billion-dollar business. So that way I never have to worry about bills again in my life and I can go to fantasy camp, Rachelle. But for the two of you right now, let's use the example of, I just simply don't want to hurt after a week of playing baseball with my buddies.
Right.
Okay. So then let's begin to taper up a program that we can work the full body, still get full range of motion, because you're going to be dealing with that in that moment. Eventually, you two don't know this, but you're going to start working on your fast twitch muscle fibers and your lateral movement, because last thing I need is someone to feel like they tore both of their calves at the camp or something like that.
Right.
And so
that's
from
fun.
That's never happened.
No, never. No. That was hypothetical.
Rumors. Just rumors.
But from that, though, what is the goal? For example, I wanted to deadlift 600 pounds. I still haven't done it, but that is the goal for my lifetime. That is the gorilla I want off my back. I've done 550, but I would like to do 600. So now we have the goal. What is that roadmap of success going to look like? Well, we have to build up the base. If your goal is up here,
the foundation.
The foundation needs to be laid for the pyramid. The pyramid is only going to get as high as the base is going to be wide.
Correct.
There you go.
Okay? So the bigger the base, the higher the pyramid. The higher the pyramid, the better we can overshoot that goal in preparation for the athletes that are wanting to compete at something. If you want to be all state within your football career, okay, so what are we going to do to set you up for success to be an all state player at that point in time? If you're wanting to smash a ball over the fence, okay, so what are we going to do for that transitional power to help you get that ball to transition? Though I have never played baseball in my life, I know how to analyze a ball player and kind of see how the mechanics are supposed to work. And from those mechanics, also, we've acknowledged that I'm not the smartest person in the fitness industry, but I know people who are smarter than me. And it's about the network that can be pulled along the way.
Right.
You two know realtors within the real estate business, and that would probably be a good comparison with my personality and who I would work better with and whatnot. So sometimes it's not about what you know, but who.
For sure. I think it's important that a trainer and a client, that we like each other. And, it's not one size fits all, whether it's the actual program or the person or the personalities, but maybe talk a little bit about now I already know the answer. DC knows the answer, but what makes you personally and BaseFit Athletics different than going to a big box store or a other, group session store where I can just show up and kind of phone it in? But what makes it different? Why are you different?
Well, first and foremost, there's not a lot of trainers out there that are going to invite you to their home for you to train in a very intimate space.
Yeah. So for the listeners that obviously have not worked with Steve yet, I think it's important to paint the picture. In this home gym, it's like
it's legit.
A legit gym.
Yes.
You've got
Straight
every
up
piece of
legit.
equipment that you could absolutely ever ask for or need. You've got supplements. You've got protein that is available for purchase. This is not showing up to somebody's basement and there's a crappy.
It's got that huge rope thing in there for the love of God.
So I just want to paint
Ignore
the
the
picture.
giant corner or the giant hole in the corner. That's
right.
a problem.
So anyway, I just wanted to paint that picture.
also, I mean, I am an LLC. I am insured. I am licensed.
Yes.
I mean, it's not just simply that.
Yeah, you're not just a guy.
But also, with that being said, though, I'm trying to follow the proper steps of being a true business instead of being just a guy.
Sure.
I know a guy.
Right.
And so from that, though, it's just going to be you, me, and potentially maybe one or two other people. So it's going to be a very small
Very
setting.
intimate.
There's no mirrors in my basement right now. You have to rely on me to refer to you what I see, and you can't go off of your own vision and for you to quickly go to the areas that you would call a blemish. Oh, I don't like my midsection. Well, that's fine because you're not going to look at it when you're working out with me.
You know, it's interesting you say that because I noticed that the other day, the no mirrors, and I don't know if it's psychological or just mental or whatever it is, but you don't get caught up at looking at yourself.
Yeah.
You're focused on doing the right form, doing your reps, right? You're not getting distracted all the time.
In the beginning, it was out of the sense I didn't have the money, but now, and
I think it's good that they're not.
I train a lot of women, and they have all complimented me saying, thank you, because it's the first thing I look at and say, ew, gross.
Yeah.
And so from that, we're able to go back and work on the mental. You got to love yourself. You got to love yourself.
Right.
And I'm not going to go into this, the hippie land of psychology, but just the simple sake, you have a body that there is someone out there that would say, you don't know what I would do for a Klondike bar type of mentality. And so from that, yes, you're right. There is no mirrors when you come downstairs. I like to think I'm a funny guy. So you're going to get the corny jokes. And from there, I'm going to ask you, what music do you want to listen to when you're in my gym?
Yep.
By the way, Genesis Radio on Spotify. You can't go wrong, kids. You can't go wrong. But we're able to tailor and customize that setting. You want to lift heavy weights? I got 800 pounds of free weights in my basement. Let's load it up and let's have some fun. I'm doing that tomorrow. You want more resistance band type work? Okay, I got resistance bands. You like cables? Love cable work. Matter of fact, my programming right now is kind of heavy on the cables, and I'm not sorry about it.
No, I'm not either. I'm happy about it.
And so first and foremost, I want to get to know you and your why. I want to get to know your goals. I want to be able to know you just as good as you know yourself. And then from there, the customization is able to flow out. I'm going to learn, hey, I've got a bad back. Okay, so maybe we need to taper off some of the back work. And we're able to, from that, I'm able to come up with some different ways, like how to use a mini band differently than how it's being done. Now, first and foremost, the things that I'm coming up with on the fly, they've been done 1,000 times by other people. So I'm not doing earth-shattering things. But in that moment, though, you'll hear me go, ooh! And I get really excited. My hands do this. I'm like, you want to do something little different? And then in that moment, my clients, they have been they've been conditioned to be like, crap.
Yeah. Here we go. He's got something that's going to hurt, but it's going to help.
But that's the thing, though.
Yep.
Yes, in the moment, you will hate me. I do too. But a few minutes later, I'm going to ask, so how did that feel? Well, in the moment, it stunk and I didn't like it. But now,
Glad we did it.
I actually feel a little bit better.
Yep.
The other day, I was training a client. We were doing what is called rack pulls, where you take the barbell from the safety pins that will be located about mid-shin, and then you stand up with them, and then you put them back down. And I take this long, purple, thick band, and I loop it over. And the week before, I had this client do these movements, and they text me a few hours later, like, yo, my back doesn't feel the greatest right now. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, take some leave.
Well, put some Bengay on that and say our prayers. Okay.
Now, that's not a service you offer, though, right?
No.
Okay.
That's extra.
All right.
That's extra.
From that, the following week, it was time for us to do some lower body, some back accessory stuff. And I asked him, I was like, hey, how's your back doing? I'm good right now. I stretched out. I did some morning yoga. Okay. I've got an idea, though. We're going to raise the pins up. We're going to shorten the range of motion. And we're going to have a little bit more tension on the band because we're raising things up initially. Mm-hmm. But I think this is going to be better for you. You're going to feel more glutes and less low back. And they did their set. And I was like, so how did that feel? And they're like, it's as if you knew what was going to happen. I was like, well, I like to think I did. But
Right.
in that moment, a good trainer is going to be able to take the programming, the roadmap to failure, and customize it a little bit more to what is being battled in the moment. If we're not listening, then we're not even being heard in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest, and
I think that's the biggest
said
difference.
it very eloquently. That is the biggest difference. But I think that's also why, for someone personally who's never been a gym rat, I think I've been to a gym maybe 10 times in my life. I'm not bragging about that. I wish I would have, but to have someone like you to truly be my coach, to say everything that you just described, no matter what type of, what body type or the type of person or their personal goals, it's the personalization and the customization that makes you completely different than anybody else.
Well, absolutely. And also I want to hit the point again is like, if some people might be thinking, oh, personal training is in your home. No, like, hey folks, like this is legit. It's got every single piece of equipment that you could ever hope to get sore on, right? It's got all that. And not only that, but to have the whiteboard of all the different workouts, right? Because, I know Rachelle had a big part of that. Shout out to Rachelle.
Whatever it may be.
Because you told me the other day, she helped put some of those workouts together.
No. My wife. So that was the other reason why I started this company. Gym equipment is expensive, boys.
Yeah.
And I got tired of paying for a gym membership where I was like, if I was to invest this money, not only would it pay itself off, I could make more money. And my wife, she would be like, I just don't like going to the gym. I don't feel good about myself. I feel like all eyes are on me.
Yep.
A very common thought in today's
men, women, everybody. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, everyone.
It is equal in such ways. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to build that. I'm going to build a gym. My wife is going to have a place to work out. And so now, like literally yesterday, she's like, hey, I got an idea. You need to write this one down because I'm not going to remember that I had this idea. and she walked me through an exercise that she was able to kind of come up with on what it was is you're in a split stance. So 1 foot forward, 1 foot back. And typically we're going to do time under tension, slowly lowering down to where the knee is just off the ground and pop back up. But in her head, she's like, reverse it, drop down quick, but then slowly stand back up to where we're now putting a difference on the body. And in my head, initially, I was like, that might be the dumbest thing I've heard. But then after a while, letting the ego go, letting the ownership go, and trying to see it for where she's trying to come from, I was like, you are easily the smartest person in this house. Let's go ahead and highlight that.
You nailed that.
I look at that Chase. I was like, you better pray you got your mom's praying, because if you got mine, you in trouble, boy.
That's
awesome.
great.
That's awesome. Well, hey, before we forget, because I know we're coming up on time, and I know we might have some rapid questions for you. But let's talk about, if someone's been thinking about getting in shape, they want to feel better about themselves, have more energy, reach some goals, what's the easiest way for them to reach Steve at BaseFit?
Yeah. So I actually have a Google profile out there that if you were to Google BaseFit Athletics, that it will populate up.
Read a lot of reviews and see.
There's
That way you can kind of paint the picture of what you're getting.
But from that, we are on social media platforms of Facebook and Instagram. If you just look up BaseFit Athletics, you'll be able to find that.
Website, basefitathletics.com.
And
what I like, I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, go
what
for it.
Darren and I like is that we can go straight to the website and schedule our sessions. And we don't have to go through back and forth texting or calling or emailing. It's just, here are the spots that are available. I can click on it, book it. All the communication goes automatically to my inbox and my Google Calendar, and I can pay my fee right for the session right then and there. So that's a really cool thing that you've done and set up.
Again, I didn't want to just be that guy. I wanted to be looked upon in this space that I am a competitor, that I am a true business, that I'm as official can be. With that being said, as we grow, as we learn, we're going to get better at things. And the processes that we have in place right now, they may not be there in 6 months, because we're going to elevate ourselves. We're going to succeed to failure in a different route for the business sake. But for now, everything that needs to be in place is in place. And so if you want to follow us on social media, that is probably the best route to go. Hopefully you'll learn a little bit of something, and hopefully you'll laugh along the way with us.
Oh, they will. That's for sure. Let's do some rapid fire stuff because, like DC said, we got a couple minutes left. So, DC, we can take turns if you got some more questions. But I think this will be like a really good educational session here for some generic fitness questions that I think will be good. So, short questions, shorter answers. Okay.
Let's go.
Tell us about the BaseFit Athletics personal record WWE style belt.
As a kid that grew up with brothers, we wrestled all the time. And from that, we wanted to hold up the championship belt. And so in your fitness journey, I want you to be able to hold up the belt of success in the sense of you set a personal record. I have this customized 6-pound belt. You throw it over your shoulder, and it in that moment, you cannot deny that you're a champion of whatever you achieved. And so as corny as it may be, I want to celebrate your successes. And so you're going to wear that belt.
Love it. Do you ever just grab it and walk around the house?
All the time.
Hey, Bobby, is all your questions fitness related? Mine are kind of off the wall.
Yep. They're going to be fitness related.
Okay. Keep going.
Educate the people.
Yep.
Importance of sleep, diet, person's job or occupation, smoking, drinking. How much does all of that play into keeping these machines well-oiled?
You have to have money in the bank, right?
Yep.
Okay. You have to have balance in life. So the doctors that are out there saying that you need 8 hours of sleep, there's a reason why they're saying that. Now, that's a very cookie cutter answer. You may only need 6 hours. You may need 10 hours. But you need sleep.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that with the diet, just know now, whatever you put in, it's going to be a reflection of what you're going to get out. So if you eat clean, if you eat healthy, if you eat large quantities, you're probably going to perform better if you're focusing on your fitness. If you're going to the Taco Bells, if you're going to fast food, if you're engaging in unhealthy activities, then the results thereof are going to be unhealthy. And the only person that we can point at that moment in time is yourself.
Right.
Now, what I didn't say was you gotta quit smoking. You gotta stop drinking. You gotta live a good life.
It's a Southern accent.
I tell you what, it just comes on out, boys. Well, that was more mobster. It's you. At the end of the day, you can only look at yourself and the actions that you have. So I'm not going to stand here and say you need to stop doing that.
Right.
I'm going to just simply say, just know what you're doing and what potentially could happen. Just because you smoke doesn't mean you're necessarily going to get lung cancer. There's a chance you could get lung cancer. Just know that for every action, there's a reaction. I think is what
that's a good way to put
one
it.
of the Newton laws, third or second one.
Well, and also to go down that road is if you're signed up and you're working out and you're getting up at 5, 6 in the morning, it's only going to take one workout and you're gonna be like, oh, I'm not doing that again.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
for sure. Do you have any special introductory offers for people looking to join you and join BaseFit Athletics?
If you use the promo code ABC Podcasts, I add 5. No, right now, actually, what I do is I am actually normally $60 an hour, but I want to give back what was once given to me. I want to give back, and not trying to make it to where earning a paycheck is difficult. At the same time, I want to help out. So for right now, I am running a special where I'm actually going to be $50 an hour. You can pay as you go if you want. You can buy up front as many sessions as you want. But normally I'm 60. But for right now, I'm running a limited time special offer.
Awesome.
$10 off.
Well, that reminds me of what I was talking about earlier in the show. Do you want to talk about like the first initial visit?
That's what I was.
And that's the other part as well. It is a very common practice within the fitness industry that at least the first session is free. And so I want to continue on that thought as well to where just show up. First one's on me. I mean, let's get to know each other.
That is a tremendous thing. And thank you for pulling that, DC, because anybody that's sitting here thinking, again, it's those mental hurdles. So this is one less hurdle that somebody has to overcome to start this journey to say, okay, cool. Steve's going to actually work with me customized 1-on-1 or 1-on-2. and I get to do this complimentary, because I got to figure out, again, full circle, I got to figure out if I like you.
Oh, 100%.
Because if you and I don't get along.
You ready for this? I've got to figure out if I like you.
Absolutely. It goes,
day.
absolutely, 100%. It's
Yep.
got to have this kind of symbiotic
Oh,
relationship.
100%. 100%.
For sure.
Well, you're basically removing the belly button as
best as we
yes,
can.
That's the name of the title.
You're removing the excuse of coming to see what it's all about.
Seriously.
I should have picked something else than belly button, but that's fine.
No, I like
it's
it.
here to live. It's
I
here
like
to
it.
live.
Because everybody's got excuses. I won't say everybody. Most people have a belly button.
It's a family show.
Please comment in the comments below if you do not have a belly button. We would like to get to know you.
We don't
a
want
little
the
bit more.
haters.
All right, couple real quick personal rapid fire questions for you,
I like it.
because I know you're a Star Wars fan.
I do enjoy the Star Wars. Yes.
Favorite Star Wars movie?
You can't go wrong with A New Hope.
Don't say episode 1. Don't say episode 1.
That's episode 4.
I know.
No. Well, so hold on now. I did mention episode 1. It came first.
No, I know. I was just saying,
Yes.
I don't want you to say 1.
But you ready for this though? I do enjoy that episode.
Yes.
Do you really?
So it came out in 99
Yeah.
He was a kid.
and I was
It's
only
true.
8 years old. So for me,
Like Jar Jar Binks was.
Oh,
actually, you ready for this? I didn't care for Jar Jar. It was the fact that Anakin's origin story truly takes place, which later on, spoiler alert, becomes Darth Vader. And so from that, it just set the pace on. Literally, Jake Lloyd is only a few years older than I. So I'm watching a kid
Got it.
who, when I'm only 8 and he's like 11, I'm like,
It's relatable.
I could have been in the movies. Dad gummit.
all right. One more, because I know you're a fan of barbecue.
I do enjoy some barbecue.
What's your favorite KC barbecue joint?
There's only one, Joe's Kansas City Barbecue.
All right,
Interesting.
There we go.
Right on.
Z-Man.
Actually, it's the Chicken Z-Man.
Okay,
They put a fancy sauce on it, and it is
Really?
quite delectable.
that's awesome, man. Well, just good reason to go get a good meal and then have. I need to go hire a personal trainer.
Sure.
I know someone.
Absolutely.
Right.
We know someone. Guys,
That's exactly what-
this has been awesome.
This
Thank you
has been
so
fun.
much.
It's
Yeah.
been an hour.
It has been an hour.
Oh,
Yeah,
it seems
spot
like
on. A little
15
over an
minutes
hour.
in
Yeah. Well, a couple
Boom.
big things to take away, I think, for everybody is number one, understanding that if you're out there and you're struggling with any kind of physical ailments or mental hurdles that you're having a tough time, it might be something that could be not easily fixed, but helped through physical activity, as opposed to some other things that people do to get through some pains or mental pain. So make sure to hit up Steve at BaseFitAthletics.com where you can schedule your first free session. That is huge.
Huge.
Steve wants to make sure that it's a good relationship and that it's good for everybody. So check him out, BaseFitAthletics.com, on Instagram and Facebook at the same. Read a ton of 5-star reviews on Google where you can see the picture painted for you. You can see all the great appreciative people that have worked with Steve and that he's helped in their journey.
Great job, bro.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Awesome.
Steve
man.
Colyer, we appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you guys.
This has been the Always Be Cool podcast, hanging out with Bobby Kerr and Darren Copeland. Make sure to subscribe and leave a 5-star review of the show wherever you listen to your podcast. Always find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Always Be Cool Podcast. Take care, guys, and always be cool.
If you are hearing this message, you've listened to the entire episode. And for that, Darren and Bobby thank you from the bottom of their hearts.
They hope you enjoyed this new episode. And if you did, please leave them a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you're listening. Please share this episode with others who may be interested in our community.
Also, feel free to let DC and BK know which business or community leaders you'd like to see covered in future episodes. Get in touch in the comments or on social media. See you next time for a new episode. And remember, always be cool.
This podcast is powered by Summit Lending, NMLS number 1850081, Equal Housing Lender.